This is episode 81 of the Essential Wrestling Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 81 of the Essential Wrestling Podcast. My name is Ryan Joy. I'll be your host for this evening's festivities. Karl still out on assignment. Hopefully the Islanders are winning, because if not, he's spending a lot of time for nothing. So, top part.
I don't even know if they've played a game there yet.
I don't know either. All I know is AEW and Monday Night Raw are headed there soon. I don't know about the hockey schedule, but Al, keep the ice nice and, I don't know, smooth. Is that what he's aiming to do? I don't know.
There you go. Flat.
On the top part of our screen is Mr. John Smith, our senior NXT correspondent. John, how you doing today?
All right, got my internet back last week. Sorry guys, I couldn't make it, but my whole neighborhood was out of internet. My son's school and everything, so I don't know.
Well, we made a last-second call to bring on Gary Mehaffy in the beginning of the show, so our nameplates aren't their typical format here, but Gary's going to join us for a quick conversation at the beginning of the show here. Gary Mehaffy, our senior NXT UK correspondent, how are you this evening?
Not too bad. It's good. It's good to be here at the start.
Yeah, well, I know that's where you like to be. You like to open the show with us.
That's it.
And also in the bottom right-hand side of the screen is John Deconnie, the Senior Impact correspondent. John, how are you today?
Good. Doing well. We're here to talk about wrestling. Good times.
Yes, and we had a lot of wrestling over the weekend. We have a ton more coming up this weekend. We're going to be main eventing today's show with a big discussion on WWE's Survivor Series. We typically do a Survivor Series special, but everybody's busy with work and with Thanksgiving travel, so we can't pull it together this weekend, but we're going to basically dedicate the whole back half of this show to the Survivor Series. So it's a big main event today. We're also going to be talking about AEW having one of their big four shows of the year. We got a new AEW World Champion. We're going to talk about Elektra Lopez taking over Legado del Fantasma, John Smith. Moose has his first big title defense this weekend. We are also going to talk to Gary about NXT UK, and I will continue to ask him where the F is Walter. But we're going to start the show today. We're going to talk about the announcement that came during NXT last week, and that is December 5th, War Games. And I thought it'd be fun since, John Smith and Gary have this long-standing rivalry with them, and I thought, maybe we can just pretend that one of the War Games matches is going to be NXT versus NXT UK. So I thought, why don't these guys draft their teams? So, Gary, why don't I start with you? If you're putting together a War Games team to go up against John Smith's team, who are you throwing in there?
I was sitting writing down, I have 4 different teams made for 4 different reasons, and I could justify them all. But I think and I made one change to my top team. If I was choosing 4, I think I would. Yes, I'll stick with this one. Okay, I would go Walter if we can find him.
Okay,
it has to be said. Ilya Dragunov.
Okay, the champ.
Joe Coffey.
Okay,
and I had toyed with about 3 people, and I've actually plumped for Rampage Brown.
Okay.
4.
This team seems combustible.
Yeah, they would go for each other, but they would I figure they'll work together. There's enough things dragging them all together. So one of these things, you could almost make a storyline out of it with having Dragunov with the title and the other 3 who want them, but they all have to fight together. And that's for the honor of the company and so on. I would go with that. They are 4 pretty much big boys, but 4 big boys that can all go.
Now, one of them team captain, or or they have to.
I would go Dragunov team captain.
Okay. James Wheeler chiming in. So no more takeovers. It seems like this War Games doesn't have a takeover tagline, so I'm not sure if they're going to get to one or not. But John Smith, who are you going to put up against that team?
All right. Well, I didn't know it was just going to be one team versus team thing. So I thought we were going to get Ciampa versus Dragunov in their own match. But if we're doing just a team to put up against what Gary just said, then I'll have to go with Ciampa as the leader, as the captain. My original captain would be second in charge, and that's Santos Escobar, of course.
Okay. Yes.
I'm how you didn't include Jordan Devlin is beyond me. Probably because he doesn't belong in the same ring as Santos Escobar.
he was in my team B, my second team. He was in, to be fair.
And then got to go with Braun Breaker because he's one of the new guys. They wouldn't not include him, I don't think. And Odyssey Jones, I think they would include him as well. But if I was picking it, it would be Grimes and Loomis because they're my two favorite.
Okay. Well, hold on to those thoughts because I've got some more questions about War Games when we get to the NXT portion of the show. But John Deconnie, I don't want to leave you out. Either side of the equation, what do you think of the two teams that they've put forward?
Very, very solid. The only thing, if you really wanted to make it interesting, I'd sub one of John Smith's guys out to put Pete Dunne in there, just so you could have somebody turn on his team and sway it the other way.
You could get really crazy. You could put the NXT Tag Team Champions Imperium on that team too, right? Against Walter on the other team.
And it would actually be, and one of the teams, I had 4 teams on the go, and one of them actually had Tyler Bate and Trent Seven both in it, and to have them in one team and then Pete Dunne on the other team.
That'd be good too.
Where you could kind of like the three of them back together as British strong style to kind of go what you would do. That would work quite well. So.
Yeah.
Well, so this would be it'd be incredibly interesting if they decided to do like an NXT UK and NXT Worlds Collide type of thing. I don't think they're going to do that, but it seems like a fun thing for them to do. So maybe they should think about it.
And then you could have me and John Smith in the corners.
Yeah.
We'd be
that's for sure.
I'm coming out with Legato. I guess you'll be in the back with Jordan Devlin at catering.
That's it.
James Wheeler thinks that Diamond Mine will actually be one of the teams. It would be Roddy's 5th War Games match in a row, he says. So that's a good point.
Wow.
Yeah,
like I mentioned, we're not done talking about War Games. We're going to talk about it again in a few minutes. But John Smith, John Deconnie, I'm going to give you a break. Gary and I are going to talk about NXT UK, but then when Gary and I are done, you guys are on for the rest of the show. So if you got a bathroom break or something you need to do it now.
Gotta go get my groceries, actually.
Okay. You can stop at the bathroom too if you want. All right, guys, we'll see you in a minute. Gary, how are things?
Not too bad. It was an interesting weekend here, and with work and school and all sorts of things going on, but everything's good now. Doing okay. So
good deal. Well, like I said, where in the world is Walter? Where the F is he? He's still missing. I think when he comes back, he's going to be making quite a splash, and I don't know where he's going to make that splash. But
I know, no, still MIA. Obviously, as we say, he did make his appearances on the UK tour, and there's been still no mention of him on TV since. So I'm not sure what's going on. But
there is a open spot on the SmackDown Survivor Series team. I do know Walter has said he'll never do Survivor Series again, so I don't know if he'll participate. But he was not fond of the Survivor Series match he was in before, which makes sense because he lost in that. It was the only time he lost. All right, let's get into what happened last week. Mark Andrews gets a win over Nathan Frazier. So Subculture, they're your guys, and Mark Andrews. Good thing he broke the losing streak for Subculture.
Yeah, this is like the Subculture episode of NXT UK. And I have to tell you, I mean, I put out a tweet after this match, and actually, ironically, I mean, both Mark and Nathan both were liking it, and we're saying stuff, but like this match for a 10-minute match, goodness grief! Like I could have watched, like it was brilliant, and they allowed them time instead of saying, "Look, give about 6 minutes, go out and have a sprint." it was a proper match, and there was so much going on. Like, it was absolutely unbelievable. I will say, to give our dear departed and soon to be returning El Capitan, Mr. Al Karl, as we've talked about before, when do they pull the trigger on Nathan Frazier? He always seems to lose, and I'm not sure what's going on. But like, the match itself was just unbelievable. I mean, I am a big, I've said it before, like, Subculture, I'm a huge Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster fan. And they were allowed to show it here. Mark was allowed to show it. Like, he and Nathan Frazier just had an outstanding 10-minute match.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan, like you mentioned, when they pulled the trigger on Nathan Frazier, from the moment I first saw him, AEW Dark match, and then I saw him on Late Night Dynamite. He had a match with Scorpio Sky that was incredible. I couldn't believe that AEW didn't sign him right away. But he's the one that got away, and over on NXT UK now, they just need to decide it's time. And when they do, I think, they got a good champion for him to go up against right now if they want to, I don't feel like he should be wrestling for the NXT UK championship until he has a few wins under his belt, but I think that, he could have a good match with Dragunov. I do.
Oh, he definitely could. No, he's a phenomenal talent, let's say, and it may well be a case that almost that he kind of, I'm not saying works his way through Subculture, but maybe if he's had the match with Andrews and then Webster and he may end up like making a sort of an allegiance with them.
Sure.
And getting involved with them, could easily do that, but because he's obviously studying the tapes, as I showed you. But
Flash is still looking for a win, so maybe he can, Nathan Frazier can get in there and steal a win from Flash. Well, okay, so sticking with Subculture, Donnie Luna gets a win over Stevie Turner, and all is good. Subculture celebrates and everything, but they don't get to celebrate for long because Blair Davenport walks up. And, no date yet, but it does seem like we're going to get Blair Davenport versus Donnie Luna at some point. But Donnie Luna gets a win over Stevie Turner.
I know. I was shocked. I mean, obviously they know the direction they're going, and the stuff with Blair Davenport, there was the reason for it. But I was pleasantly shocked because obviously Stevie Turner is one that I think that they see stuff in, and her gimmick and all the stuff that's going on. But to give Donnie Luna the win, and she normally wouldn't in this sort of level of a match, was good, and say it was a good strong match and a good strong outing for her. So
well, lots of things going on in that women's division. I mentioned it looks like we're going to get Blair Davenport versus Donnie Luna. The goal is obviously Blair Davenport versus Meiko Satomura. No date yet on that. But it wasn't just that. Even Aaliyah James and Nina Samuels seem to have a little something going on too. Like, we're going to get a match. That probably will happen this week. They didn't announce it, but I would suggest that that'll probably be, they worked a quick angle to get to a match, I think, there. So why don't we go? Let's go ahead and pick it. You think Aaliyah James going to get a big win here over Nina Samuels?
Yeah, I mean, Nina Samuels seems to be one of these customers that, like, we're talking, there was a lot of talk been going on recently about people who can afford to lose, whatever, and she's one of these characters of going, she has the backstage, she has the stuff going on, she can be that sort of irritating, it's like almost like Noam Dar. He could lose whenever they want to because he can always talk his way back into it, and she's the same. She has that silly sort of goofy backstage character that she can lose the match and still go, but I'm still the best, I'm still the greatest, look at me, and then keep going on.
I can't think of the last time she won, actually.
No, but no, I think Aaliyah James will take it because obviously in that same little angle, I mean, Isla Dawn obviously had been involved as well, and she was walking past and ignored her. So whether Aaliyah James beats her and then you head towards an Aaliyah James Isla Dawn match or something like that coming out of it as well. So.
Lots of ways that we can go.
Yeah.
But we talked last week at length about what I thought was a triple threat. You informed me it was a four-way. It was in fact a four-way. Mustache Mountain with Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter, Dave Mastis, Jack Stars, and Symbiosis. So Mustache Mountain got the win, Gary. So it looks like if indeed we're looking for a Trent Seven, Tyler Bates split, hadn't happened yet.
No, I mean it was funny. I was fantasy booking this in my head earlier on. Whenever I thought, okay, I thought the break might come, and then as I thought about it, it was like, well, if the break came in the match, the focus would be on the breakup rather than the winners of the match. So okay, having them win the match makes sense, and they could go then one of two ways. I still believe the break's coming. They could either just have them lose their match against Pretty Deadly when they go against each other, or you could have Mustache Mountain win the titles. And we've talked before about having a quick change sometimes.
Sure.
They could lose them very quickly, and then Trent Seven goes, or Tyler's focus is maybe on like the Heritage Cup then after that or whatever, and Trent blames him. So they could go one of two ways with that. So I suppose when we thought about it, not having them break up yet obviously was the right thing. You'd almost think that whoever was booking it knew what they were doing.
Well, we don't know when that match is going to be,
Yeah.
so naturally we got the whole no date yet for the Bait 7 versus Pretty Deadly match, but that's on the way. I
thought it was interesting actually, because we did get Pretty Deadly obviously as one of the vignettes. Obviously, we're at Magic Mike Live, which is quite a big thing, and you kind of went. So they're obviously giving them they really do rate Pretty Deadly, and there's a good focus on them. So it will be interesting to see what they do when that match finally comes.
Oh, absolutely. We also don't have any more information on when Rampage, Brown, and Dragunov are going to go at it. But, so we talked about that last week in terms of, will Dragunov drop the belt to Rampage? We'll have to wait and see. Still don't have a date for that one yet. So we do have a match we talked about last week with A-Kid and Sam Gradwell. This one we do have. They started the build last week and continued. Well, 2 weeks ago, and then continued it last week. So now we're going to get the match: A-Kid versus Sam Gradwell. Gary, I'm going A-Kid on this one.
Yeah, I'm going A-Kid too. I mean, I have said all along, I have majorly turned the corner on Sam Gradwell. Yeah. He was somebody that I thought, what's the point? And I do hate the yogurt line. I mean, I hate that. But I really have turned the corner on him as far as in the ring and what he brings to the brand. I was like, yep, he's there. But I do think, as you say, I think that's A-Kid. I think he's the one that they're gonna that they want to push and give a bit more steam behind, or whatever. So
yeah, that's exactly why I'm picking him the way I'm picking him. Is I think that A-Kid's the one that they've got the future focus on. Sam Gradwell's just kind of the stepping stone guy, So that's where I think we're going there. And then the other match they announced for next week is Teoman and Rohan Raja. They'll be going up against Joe Coffey's partners in Gallus, Wolfgang and Mark Coffey. So we have that. And, like we've been talking for several weeks, it feels like the real angle here. You've got these two guys going up against a trio. It seems like they're definitely going to bring somebody in. It's just a matter of who and when, and whether that guy is the new leader of the group or if he's going to be kind of the backseat type of guy.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it almost being like, when I think of that match, I could see it happening in this match, because I would imagine Teoman and Rohan Raja go over, because they've kind of what they've built up, and you've had all the skits and stuff with Gallows talking about coming back, and all of a sudden, if it's 2-on-2 and the new member of the family appears, beats them, and then all of a sudden it naturally leads to a 3-on-3, and so I mean, and they've done that before. I mean, we've had times where you've had 3-on-3 matches before to kind of finish off feuds, so I could see them going that way, and it would stretch it out a wee bit more, probably in the early new year, I suppose. But
I'm gonna go the other way though. I'm gonna pick Gallus wins this because they have a third guy. And then that brings out towards the end of whatever the situation brings out their third guy, and then they go to a 3-way. So could happen either way, I guess. All right. That said, Gary, anything else in NXT UK to chat about before we send you?
No. I mean, I don't want to go on negative. It was funny. I was talking to John and John earlier on and said it was the first week that something happened on NXT UK that made me go, no. It's like, and it does sound terrible every time Saxon Huxley appears on the screen. He's the one that I can't quite warm to Big Saxon just yet. I'm sure it'll come. But no, I mean, just when you see it, it's been really good the last couple of weeks to have fans back, and hopefully when they do the next few sets of tapings, hopefully there'll be even more fans back again and be more of an atmosphere in it. But it's a really great hour, and it's really well booked, and I love the way they do it. So
it's quick too. It goes by really, really quick. All right, Gary. Well, we'll bid you adieu. Thank you very much, and good luck to your War Games team. Hopefully they can get on the same page.
Hey, that's like there's no such thing as luck. That's it. With a team like that, how could we lose against Legado del Loser? We just beat them. That wouldn't be a problem.
Right. Well, we'll see what John Smith has to say in about 3 seconds. So see you later, Gary.
Yeah, later.
All right, John. All right, guys, I hope you got your groceries. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let's see. I'm here someplace. There we go. All right. Well, I was planning to talk about Full Gear first, but it just seems natural to kind of go into the NXT on the state side of things. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll circle back to Full Gear in a minute. But so a whole bunch of matches on NXT last week. John Smith, why don't you kick us off and tell us what's going on with Baby Uso?
Well, he looks like an animal out there, barefoot animal. You know, it's him versus Grayson Waller versus LA Knight in a 3-way. I don't know how he got involved with the two of them, but it doesn't matter because the match was entertaining. The Waller and Knight were competing with each other at first, and then working together, and then poorly working together. So it was basically a 2-on-1 where they were kind of fighting with each other at the same time. By the end of the match, Mini Oos throws Waller out of the ring and hits the big splash on LA Knight for the win. But the story was more about how Waller and Knight are at odds, and then it also makes Solo Sikoa look strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we had a bunch of other stuff like Toxic Attraction got a win over KC Catanzaro, Caden Carter, Io Shirai. Kaylee Ray defeated Saray. That's in the women's division. We got more women's division action coming up on this week's show. Joe Casey got a win over Boa by DQ. Elektra Lopez beat Erica Yan. I think this was Erica's first match on the NXT show. She was on 205 Live, so this is her first match out. But John Deconnie, the North American title situation seems to be kind of like swirling around. What's going on with that? You had a Pete Dunne and Carmelo Hayes match.
Yeah, earlier in the show, we had Pete Dunne backstage with McKenzie, and he wasn't going to let Tony D'Angelo drop his name the week before without having something to say about it. So he invited him to come, find him. And then you had Trick and Mello roll up. And they start. To be honest with you, Trick talked for like 2 straight minutes. I'm not sure I could put together a whole sentence out of what he said, but it was enough for Pete Dunne to say, well, how about, I break some of your fingers tonight. So fast forward to the main event, and we've got Dunne and Mello in a non-title match. And, our comedy relief of the night was Dexter Lumis joining commentary and putting on a headset, complete with, the little microphone for him to say absolutely nothing. And then we had a really good match take place in the ring. Dunne would start, working the small joints early on, so that later in the match, when Carmelo kind of out of nowhere tried to borrow the Gargano escape, he couldn't really lock it in because he couldn't lock his hands together because he had his fingers, manipulated throughout the whole match. Then Trick tried to go for the same deal that he went with the week before, where he whacked somebody in the head with his shoe, but Dexter Lumis would stop him from doing that. And as Mello's watching that kind of unfold on one side of the ring, he's standing up against the ropes on the other side of the ring, and we see this leather-gloved hand come up and kind of grab his ankle and get his attention just long enough for Dunne to grab Mello, hit the bitter end, and get us a 1, 2, 3. They went about 13 minutes. It was a really, really good match. And then afterwards, we see that the leather glove, of course, belonged to, because Dexter was on the other side, so it couldn't have been him this time, Johnny Gargano pops out afterwards with a big smile on his face because he, messed things up. And now we've got Dunn and Gargano, and they're both kind of pointing at Mello. They both want a shot at that title. So certainly nothing cleared up, but it looks like Dunn, by way of his victory, would at least get a shot upcoming. And you got to figure Johnny Gargano finds a way to wedge himself, to Daniel Bryan himself, into that match, if you will.
Everything's kind of confusing around here. I'm wondering if they're going to like combine the titles or something, because if you just look at the 2 weeks together, you have Carmelo Hayes. He wants a piece of Ciampa. You had Johnny Gargano, who wants a piece of Carmelo Hayes, but Gargano also kind of gave some side eye to Tommaso Ciampa. Braun Breaker wants Ciampa. Pete Dunne wants Carmelo Hayes. I don't know what's going on. It seems like anything could happen here. So maybe they're going to try to combine the titles or something. But John Smith, any thoughts?
I hope that's not the case, because they got enough guys there that they really need that secondary title. So, and I know the cruiserweight title's there also, but when you fight for the cruiserweight, it kind of designates you as a certain type of wrestler, like, oh, you can't hang with the other guys, kind of thing. So
right, you got to be, in order to be on 205 Live, you got to be 205 or lighter, right? Like Odyssey Jones. So
right,
yeah. I hear what you're saying. So we also had, speaking of Odyssey Jones, last week on NXT, the Creed brothers got a win over Jacket Time, but Jacket Time has called in an enforcer this week. So now we have Odyssey Jones and Jacket Time. As you can see, Jacket Time, you can barely see them there. Versus Diamond Mine this week. It'll be the first match we're picking. Not going to kick off the show. That's going to be a different match, but John Smith, we'll stick with you. Who do you think in this cruiser battle? It's battle of the cruiserweights here. You guys, Odyssey Jones and Roderick Strong here.
This one's tough. I'm going to go with the Diamond Mine on this one. I think they'll find a way to get it done with Malcolm Bivens on the sidelines.
Malcolm Bivens, yeah, he is the wild card, I guess. John Deconnie, I don't know the whole thing. I make a joke, a lot of jokes about Odyssey Jones being on the 205 live roster because he is, based on the website. But it seems to me like he doesn't lose a lot of matches. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, certainly he's not going to be the one to eat a pin. But you do have, unfortunately, Ike Manjiro there, so that makes the most sense to me for him to count the lights. So I'm going to agree with John Smith and say Diamond Mine finds a way to take this one, probably with some skullduggery.
Yeah. And I mentioned, that Odyssey Jones doesn't get beat very often, but if they want to make the Creed brothers look really impressive, it's one thing to pick up Jiro and throw him around. It's another thing if they can pick up Odyssey Jones and toss him on the mat a little bit. Maybe this is going to be a big display for them. So I will pick with you guys on this. Diamond Mine gets the W.
Yeah, maybe it ends up being that's what leads to the War Games match, where afterwards maybe they take Jacket Time out completely, and then Odyssey Jones is the only one left that licking his wounds next week, and then he recruits some guys to be in a War Games match with the Diamond Mine.
Yeah, that James Wheeler said earlier in the show, he thinks Diamond Mine will be in War Games, and it kind of fits with their characters and everything to want that. So, that would be interesting. That's a good.
But they might need a fourth. I mean, who would their fourth be? The coach? I always forget his name.
What's the girl with the chains, right?
Oh, you want to put a woman in it?
Why not?
I'm fine with that, but
I wouldn't fight her.
I'd like to see her on one team and then maybe Io on the other or something.
There you go.
Go.
Intergender War Games. Now that's probably never been done. Kicking off tonight's show, we have Tony D'Angelo, who I believe gave Indy Hartwell a dead fish last week, and said deliver that to Dexter Lumis. So Dexter Lumis versus Tony D'Angelo kicking off tonight's show. John Deconnie, I don't know if Tony D'Angelo's lost yet, but might he be tonight?
That I want to say that on most shows you'd go with flat out the better guy, and Loomis would take this one, but D'Angelo's kind of this new character, new gimmick, and let's be honest, Loomis is just so bursting with charisma that he doesn't really need the win here. So maybe D'Angelo finds some underhanded way to take this one. So give me Tony D'Angelo here.
Okay, John Smith.
I'm thinking more like outside interference from one of the people that was involved in the scuffle during the Pete Dunne match last week.
Right.
Maybe something happens with that, and Loomis gets distracted and ends up getting rolled. The nice raw roll up. See if Tony D'Angelo can make it to the big leagues.
See, I think I'm kind of with you on that, John Smith. I think this is all angling for War Games. I think you're going to have them set up, and you're going to have, truthfully, what I think it's going to be is old NXT versus new NXT. And you're going to have Ciampa, Gargano, Loomis, somebody else versus Carmelo, Trick, whoever we were just Tony D'Angelo. That's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. So I'm gonna, in terms of picking this match, I don't think it really matters. I'll pick Tony D'Angelo, but ultimately I think we're angling towards War Games.
Yeah.
Cameron Grimes got a win over Ru Fang last week, but the big story here is about Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson going into a poker showdown on tonight's episode. I don't know what that's going to be, but I think I'm going to pick Cameron Grimes to win. What do you think, John Smith?
I'm calling if there is a competition, it might end up as a no contest because the table gets flipped over at some point and it ends up in a real fight. That's what I think's going to happen.
So John Smith is basically saying this is a contract signing for a match down the road.
Yeah. So instead of going through, a shiny silver table with a black skirt on it, someone's going to go through a poker table. But if there is a winner to come out of this one, I guess I'll go with Duke Hudson, since Grimes already got the upper hand at the last tournament that we saw, broken down into 5 segments or whatever it was. So eventually they can have a blow-off rubber match.
Yeah. All right, Zion Quinn versus Andre Chase is the next matchup for tonight. I think this one was just barely announced about 35 minutes ago. Zion Quinn, he seems to be the apple of Elektra Lopez's eye these days. John Deconnie, you think that the having Elektra Lopez, that love from her, is going to be enough to get him through Andre Chase?
You know what? I'm almost worried that even though he did it very politely and even romantically, they had that momentary embrace. I'm almost worried that Legado might cost him this match tonight. But I think if all love interests stay out of it, Zion will most definitely take out Chase.
Yeah, and under normal circumstances, John Smith, if Legado wasn't involved in this at all, this is an easy outing for Zion, right?
Yeah, I think either way, it's an easy outing. I think Lopez will end up out on the ramp, maybe with Santos next to her this time, and they'll be watching, and then he'll win convincingly, and then they'll come down and like little maybe face-to-face kind of thing after the match.
Yep, that makes sense. Legado plus Zion Quinn is another potential War Games team if they got back all on the same page. So there's only like 2 weeks left before, or maybe 3 for this build. So hopefully we start to see these teams formulate.
Yeah, 3 more shows before the pay-per-view.
All right, well, the big match tonight, and I don't know if it's main eventing. I don't think it is, but I think this is the big match, I think, is Raquel Gonzalez versus Dakota Kai 2, I believe. So, John Smith, sticking with you, this is an old rivalry. This predates the NXT 2.0 era. Do you think this is just like, let's finish up the storyline and move on, or do you think there's a lot more story here to go?
It doesn't seem right with a pay-per-view so close that they wouldn't finish this at the pay-per-view. So I'm going to have to go with Dakota on this one in some underhanded way. And maybe the match doesn't even happen. Maybe she attacks Raquel and beats the crap out of her backstage, and it takes like 10 minutes, and it's as long as a match, but there's no actual match. But we got to get this on pay-per-view. This needs to be no DQ between the two of them. It has to lead to that.
Okay. John Deconnie, you think that John's onto something here? We got a rubber match coming?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe some form of toxic attraction comes out to kind of say thank you to Dakota for helping Mandy get the title. So they cost Raquel in some way here. But yeah, Dakota's got to get the upper hand tonight so that we can have a blow off, some kind of gimmick match at the War Games.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dakota's going to get the win here, but they're going to have Raquel will be protected in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So James Wheeler chiming in saying, NXT TakeOver in Your House was this past June, featured a bunch of people who are no longer with the company. Bronson Reed, Mercedes Martinez, Ember Moon, Adam Cole, and Karrion Kross. Man, how time flies. Well, the next big show is coming up right around the corner, and it's NXT War Games. And we've been talking about it the whole show. But guys, anything more to add? Any other theories going into this of how these teams are going to line up? We didn't even talk about the women's side at all.
No.
Yeah, I had a women's team written out. I had Raquel. This was for the UK thing, though. So, like,
Okay.
Dakota, we'll just take her off of there. We'll make it 4 people. I had Lopez, Io, and Casey and Caden.
As a team.
Versus like a heel team, of course.
Yeah. I think it's somewhat likely that taking the NXT UK thing out of it, that we'll have Toxic Attraction and Dakota on one side.
Right.
And then maybe this feud that we were just talking about actually ends up in War Games, and you have Raquel on the other side with three other people. I don't know who they are because
Io and Zoe, maybe.
Io makes sense. I think Zoe got injured.
Oh yeah, so Io, maybe Casey and Caden then.
Yeah, maybe those two. Yep.
Give them something to shine because they've never had a real high profile match before.
And Casey in a War Games match could be pretty impressive.
She'd be on the ceiling like Spider-Man.
Yes, exactly. John Deconnie, any thoughts on the women's side?
Yeah, I like the men's side being old school versus new school, but on the women's side, that makes total sense. Toxic Attraction and Dakota. And however you fill out the other side with Raquel, it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, we should throw Kaylee Ray in there too, I think, maybe as a potential person to be in the match. So, all right, that takes care of NXT. We are going to flip over to AEW. And then we're going to, after the AEW, we got to get into the Turning Point and then into Survivor Series. So AEW had full gear this past weekend. We have a new AEW World Champion. It is the Hangman, Adam Page. We are going to hear from him on Dynamite this week. Guys, the big question I have, if you were to kind of chart things out from like the first 6 months of watching AEW, you probably could have predicted Moxley. You probably could have predicted Kenny Omega. You could have predicted Hangman Page. Now I feel like that stuff is kind of gone and it's done now. Thinking about who's going to be next is really interesting. So I'll ask John Smith, thoughts on who might be the next guy?
I don't think they give it to Danielson, although I think that would be fine if they did. I don't know, because I mean, Paige is a face, so do they give it to a heel, or I mean, it could be in a 3-way match, so another face could get it. Maybe they give it to Darby, maybe like give it to somebody that's homegrown a little bit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point with the heel face thing, and even though Miro, we'll talk about the Miro briefly, Miro Danielson match. Miro didn't get the job done in the Eliminator, but he's got to be somebody that faces Page at some point. John Deconnie, any thoughts?
Yeah, that's why I had Miro going over Danielson, just because wherever you go next with Danielson, he's got that built-in backing of the crowd. The crowd absolutely loves him, so I didn't think he needed the win at the big pay-per-view. And even though it kind of would be half-assed to throw Miro into the tournament late and have him win it, it just made sense to me to have the big mean guy go against the oh my God over babyface. So now looking at the face versus heel, I don't know, does Miro go back after Sammy and the TNT title? And I mean, you had him say it either last week or the week before. MJF said after he was done with Darby and he puts him away, he wants that title. So maybe MJF gets elevated into the top tier here in the coming month or so.
Yeah, and so the thing that's confusing about AEW, right, is the fact that they have these long title reigns typically, right? So you kind of figure Kenny or Hangman Page is going to hold the belt for 6 months at least. But I think, you got Danielson. He beat Miro in the World Title Eliminator at Full Gear. So he's getting a title match right away. We don't know exactly when, no date yet, but that match is coming based on Danielson beating Miro. Darby Allin MJF got his win over Darby Allin, and I would think that he's going to get a title match pretty soon. But if it's as soon as, say, Revolution, I don't think Hangman's going to lose in his first pay-per-view title defense. So my ability to project MJF as the next champion when I think he's going to lose a title match early in Page's run is tough. So I don't know who it's going to be. I would have initially thought MJF, but I think he's going to get a title match too quickly. So,
I mean, it could always be Adam Cole, baby.
It could be Adam Cole. Adam Cole, Andrade, Malachi Black. Yeah, there's some.
You could also have a scenario like you and Al had been talking about with Gary, with the UK title, where you had this long run. And you have the guy who's absolutely made by beating the guy on the long run. And then you could wind up having Page have a quick run here. Like someone takes the belt off him pretty quick. And then he gets the added attaboy that he's the first 2-time champion because he takes it back pretty quickly.
Well, that's a good point. And, go with MJF on that, right? Like,
yeah,
if MJF is super good at getting heat, if he's the guy who beats Page, that's a lot of heat goes his way.
Yeah, especially if he cheats real bad to beat him. Yeah. And then there would be a huge pop when Page won it back from him the next Wednesday on on the rematch,
Exactly.
James Wheeler thinks Bryan Danielson versus Hangman will be on the last Dynamite on TNT. I actually think they're going to do one of those TNT specials. I think it's going to be on Saturday night. That's where I think it's going to be. But, okay, we got to get into some other stuff here. John Smith, Christian Cage, and Jurassic Express, they went up against the Super Click in a super match.
Yeah, typically I don't enjoy myself too much watching the Young Bucks, but when Adam Cole's involved, it's the best because he's top 5 in the industry to me right now. And then you got Christian and the Jurassic Express who are like so over, especially Jungle Boy. Well, no, even especially Luchasaurus with that's the standing shooting star press that he did onto everybody off the walkway. We got Adam Cole doing his Panama Sunrise off the risers that hold up the screen. This was all over the place. We got thumbtack knees, triple thumbtack knees to Luchasaurus's face on the knee pads. They had, kind of like Darby's skateboard, but on knee pads. Crazy match. And I was very surprised to see that the Jurassic Express and Christian won the match. I figured Adam Cole wouldn't lose yet, but I guess he's not the one that got pinned, so he's protected a little bit. I mean, I know that not everybody should just come in and lose or win forever. It's kind of lame because everybody does it everywhere. But I figured that they wouldn't lose, but whatever. The match was great, and there was when we got some blood too.
Yeah, it was a good match, and I will say it was the one match. We'll get to the standings in a minute, but it was the one match I did not get. I picked the Super Click to win, and I ended up wrong. So, But in any case, Lucha Bros defeated FTR. Britt Baker defeated Ty Conti. So the other titles all stayed put. John Deconnie, we had a big 5-on-5 Inner Circle versus ATT and Men of the Year.
We sure did. It was a Minneapolis street fight, and it was a street fight. So just like earlier in the night, it was all over the place. It didn't get all the way up the ramp, but you had Junior Dos Santos and Jake Hager. I think wound up in the first row. You had some Sammy go through a table and what. It broke down. It was all over the place. There was chaos, and then all of a sudden, the ring was empty. And Jericho or Dan Lambert was like the last man standing in the ring, and he starts posing in his velvet jumpsuit and whatnot. And next thing you know, Chris Jericho's standing behind him. And that's essentially it. So it's Lambert and Jericho, just like Lambert said he was going to make Jericho tap or whatever. He was going to, get the win over Jericho. Well, that didn't really go his way because Jericho wore him out with a kendo stick. He beat him, all around the ring. At one point, he produced somewhere in his tactical pants. He just had a random office stapler, and Lambert took a stapler shot to the ambag. And then, because it was right around the anniversary date, Jericho would put the exclamation point on the street fight by doing the Eddie Guerrero shimmy and hitting a frog splash on Dan Lambert for the 1-2-3.
I believe it was the 16. I believe to the day it was the 16-year anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's death in Minneapolis, where he died. So there was a lot of Eddie Guerrero stuff. I mean, even poor Penta tried to do the thing with the swing in the hips, doing the Three Amigos. It was probably the worst I've ever seen, but it was still really over because it was paying tribute to Eddie. But it was good stuff in the end. So. Really, really good show. I guess a lot of people had trouble with the stream and stuff if you were watching on Bleacher Report, which is too bad, but really good show, I thought, for sure. We have updated standings in the world of AEW for here's where we stand. 8 shows in the pool. John Deconnie, you're leading with 265 AEW points. You have the same record as me, who is 4 behind. John Smith is up next, and then now Karl tied with Travis. Al has a little bit better record. And then Gary's behind them, and then Tyler is just, I don't even know if he's picking these matches. So I don't know. Sorry, Tyler. Sorry. All right, well, we got matches for AEW to pick for this week. We are actually, John Deconnie, were you going to mention something about Jay Lethal?
I totally forgot about that in all the excitement of the Minneapolis street fight. Yeah, afterwards we've got Tony comes out on the stage to introduce one of our guests for the evening. And who is it but Jay Lethal, who while he's there mentions, hey, I guess you guys got an open challenge for that TNT title of yours. And, your boy just had a rough match, so we'll give him some time, but I sure would like a shot at that. Sammy makes his way back out. We get a little face-to-face. Coming up this Wednesday on Dynamite.
Take it away. Go. This Wednesday on Dynamite. John Smith, I'll throw it over to you. Jay Lethal challenging for the TNT Championship. It's kind of weird. Like you were just talking about bringing people in and going on a winning streak, but it would be very weird for somebody to come in and win a title match like this out of the gate, and it'd be really bad for Sammy, I would think.
Yeah, unless somebody costs Sammy the title, which is totally possible, give me Jay Lethal on this one. Wait, maybe make him, give him the title.
John Smith with a bold prediction. No points on the line, John Deconnie. Are you with him?
I'll be rooting for Jersey Jay, but I think in all reality, Sammy holds on to it. Unless Miro decides to come out and just, rip Sammy in half and leave him for Jay to clean up the mess.
Our good friend at the bottom of the pile here, Tyler Adelle, was at an indie show on Saturday night looking for Jay Lethal, who was advertised, and Jay was in Minneapolis. So
Tony Khan's killing the indies. Tony Khan's killing the indies.
Oh, rest in peace, Ring of Honor. But I am picking Sammy Guevara here. I don't think Jay's. I think it's going to be a very good match. I think Jay's got some showing out to do. So, but I think that Sammy will walk away with the win. Another surprise person on Dynamite this week is one of Orange Cassidy's dogs from Chaos, Mr. Tomohiro Ishii. He'll be teaming up with Orange Cassidy to go against the Butcher and the Blade. And if you've never seen Tomohiro Ishii wrestle before, you're in for something. He wrestles very. I mean, you expect a lot of high angle suplexes and getting dropped on your head a lot. That's what he does. So should be very physical, especially in there with Butcher and Blade. So John Deconnie, we given the Stone Pitbull a win here on Dynamite. That's his name.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you go out of your way to put over the fact that Orange Cassidy is now a member of Chaos, apparently. So you're going to bring him in. He's going to get a big W here, and the Butcher and the Blade, they won't mind eating a loss here.
Yeah. Orange Cassidy. I'm in some new group now, I guess. What's it called? John Smith, what do you think? Butcher and Blade, or you got Orange?
No, Butcher and Blade are the resident jobbers. They don't ever win. Poor
guys. They're fun to watch, though. I like, Butcher has the best lunge in the business. As soon as he gets up there. I agree. Orange Cassidy, Tomohiro Ishii. Okay, the TBS Championship Tournament continues. We have who do we got? Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida. The top right of the bracket. These two squared off on the buy-in for Full Gear. We get the singles match now. So, John Smith, sticking with you, Shida or Nyla Rose?
You got to go with Nyla on this one, especially because Shida beat her twice in the past. Yeah. So, I think Nyla takes this one.
John Deconnie?
Yeah, it makes total sense because whoever makes it through in that lower bracket is going to be the baby face. So you need Nyla to be there to play the heel part in the semifinal.
And I think we're going with another Shida Serena Deeb match. Now, that's not to say that couldn't be for the TBS Championship after the tournament, but Shida's already got that credential of being like this long reigning women's champion. So I think she's going to fall out of this tournament because she doesn't need the TBS title. One of these other people does. Having said that, Nyla Rose doesn't need it either because she's a former champ. But I think you guys are right. I think Nyla Rose is going to eliminate Shida here.
Word.
Okay, finally, we have the Acclaimed. Yo, listen. They're going to be going up against Dante Martin and Leo Rush. I don't have
no sedans?
No sedans this week. No sedans. Just Dante Martin and Leo Rush. No Leo Rush. He's playing the role of John Cena in this graphic. All right, guys. John Smith, stick with you or go with you on this one.
Give me Dante Martin and Leo. No real reason.
Yeah. John Deconnie.
Yeah, I mean they're the new team. They got one win together under their belts, and I don't know who the Acclaimed would have to be facing for me to pick them. So give me Dante and Leo.
It's not a popularity contest. We're trying to pick winners and losers here. They claim they usually win a lot of matches. They're not winning this one though. I agree.
Yeah, they win a lot of matches on Dark and Elevation though.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess they don't win very many on actual TV. All right. Well, we got to get over onto Impact. Anything else to say about the Full Gear show or AEW this week? We don't have any Rampage matches yet.
No.
I was waiting for a surprise. There's always a surprise during these AEW pay-per-views, and I was thinking maybe Bray Wyatt would come out at the end, but it was not to be. I mean, not that they needed one. It was a great pay-per-view. I'm just saying that's typical what they used to do or usually do.
Yeah, I think it would have been more necessary if Kenny retained. I think they had the big Kenny or Hangman moment at the end, so they didn't. And they brought out Jay Lethal and I guess they had a Ishii announcement. Those failed, paled in comparison to the Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson at All Out for sure. All right, for Impact this week, I'm going to go ahead and switch this graphic in the upper corner because I haven't done it all show. Impact. We've got on Impact this week, we've got Luke Gallows versus Hicaleo. We got Josh Alexander versus Minoru Suzuki. We got The Inspiration versus the Undead Bridesmaids. Steve Macklin versus Laredo Kid. And Deonna Purrazzo is returning. So let's start with Deonna Purrazzo returning. John Deconnie as the senior Impact correspondent. What do you think Deonna has on her mind? She got somebody picked out for Turning Point?
That's the thing. I don't know that we'll necessarily see her at Turning Point unless she gets involved in the Knockouts title match. Because what do you do with Deonna? She's been this, bulletproof Knockouts champion. I almost don't see her, and no offense to anyone if she does wind up doing this, but I don't see her wasting her time with anyone, any warm-up matches. She's just going to sit back and wait and see who comes out of that title match and then get her rematch.
Now, John Smith, she is the homecoming queen and the AAA Reyes the Reyes champion. Perhaps on the Impact show, we have a AAA championship match. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm thinking she comes out and just starts, yapping about something and then gets interrupted by somebody. Maybe a returning someone, or, maybe it's somebody from AAA that wants to bring that title back over there. Who knows?
It would be great if Turning Point was maybe 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Because then you could have a former Reina de Reinas champion returning Taya Valkyrie call out Deonna. But I think it's, unless somebody screwed up paperwork again, it's probably too early for that.
Hey, they could always hint at her. They could play her music, but she doesn't come out.
Johnny Bravo can come out.
There you go.
Johnny Bravo can come out.
Johnny come out with the dog.
Set it up. Yeah. All right. Although, who knows when it was taped, right?
Yeah. They didn't even know Taya was going to get fired at that point.
All right. In a match that I can't believe isn't on the Impact Plus special or on pay-per-view, we have Josh Alexander versus Minoru Suzuki this Thursday on Access TV. John DeConnie, you're the senior Impact guy. I'm the senior New Japan guy. Somebody's going to lose here, but it's not going to be us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't think Suzuki's going to come in just to lay down for anybody, but you spent an awful lot of time building up Josh Alexander. So, you could have some kind of screwy ending where we get a no contest here, but I think if someone's going to get a pinfall, it's going to be Alexander, or a submission for what it's worth.
Yeah, I'll pick Alexander by pinfall or DQ or some crap. John Smith?
Yeah, give me Josh Alexander.
Yeah. All right, another match we got this Thursday, we have Macklin. He's going up against Laredo Kid. If Macklin wins, he gets added to the X Division Championship match at Turning Point. I don't see any reason, John Smith, that you would have this match if you're not going to put Macklin over and put him in the match. So what do you think?
Yeah, give me Macklin.
John DeConnie?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I've been picking Macklin basically since he showed up, so why stop now, even though I've been wrong a couple of times?
I'm going to pick Macklin here, and I don't think he'll win at the Turning Point. I think this is going to be the story. He loses a lot of matches when he's not involved in the decision. I think that's what they're going.
Yeah, so I guess he hasn't been pinned yet, right?
Right.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, he's been on the losing end of 2 multi-man matches yet, but no one has pinned or submitted him, which he has not been shy about reminding us whenever he gets in front of a microphone.
Right. The Inspiration will be making their Access TV wrestling debut against the Undead Bridesmaid non-title match. This is kind of their, the Undead Bridesmaids couldn't take care of Rosemary and Havoc last week, so they're going to try their luck on the Undead Bridesmaid this week. Tag champs going in a non-title match, usually you pick the challenger so that it sets up a title match, but I'm not feeling it this time, John Deconnie.
Yeah, unless Sue Young shows up out of nowhere to help out her charges, I would say the Inspiration do as they said last week, and they get these two out of their Knockouts tag division. If they're not getting the job done.
John Smith, are you feeling inspired?
Always. only by Cassie Lee, though.
Okay. Which one is she?
The hot one.
Peyton.
So there's Peyton. Okay.
Peyton Royce, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. Billy Kay is Jesse. Okay. Got it. Okay. Here are the Impact standings. There's a reason why John Deconnie is the senior Impact correspondent. He has 269 points, 60-18 record. He is killing it on the Impact side. For Turning Point, you get 5 points for the Impact title match, 3 points for all other title matches, 1 point for non-title matches. Interpromotional matches are getting a 1 point bump, and we have I can't believe that wasn't on camera when the John Smith's wall fell down. That's the noise. All right. Well, back to perfect review is going to be 5 points. Not a ton of points on the line here, but could make the difference. So, especially when you combine it with Survivor Series. So, good luck to everybody. These are the matches that count for points. We're going to start with the X Division Championship. We don't even know who's going to be in the match. We know it's going to be Trey. We know it's going to be Laredo Kid. It might be Macklin too. I've already said I don't think Macklin's winning. John Deconnie, John Smith's a little busy at the moment, so why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think Macklin makes it into this match, and I'm going to really feel stupid if he does win, and I didn't pick him. So I think it's too quick to take the belt off of Trey, but if Macklin makes his way in, yeah, I'm going to say he takes it.
Oh, wow. John Smith. Can you agree? Do you think Macklin is going to become X Division champion? X Division means no limits. Does it mean Macklin?
No, I mean, he should win it, I guess, but no, I don't think because they normally don't do much with as far as title changes go on these Saturday shows, these like non-pay-per-view Saturday shows on their network. So I don't think they take the belt off of Miguel right after they put it on him at the pay-per-view last month.
Now, this was, I don't know if Elle has caught this, but that is an interpromotional match. The Laredo Kid being an interpromotional character here. So it's got a 1 point bump. I'm picking Trey. on this one. Another next interpromotional match is the Good Brothers. They're going up against Chris Bay and Hicaleo. I guess this is the Bullet Club. Bullet Club versus Bullet Club Originals. Impact Tag Team titles are on the line. Good Brothers seem to be completely unstoppable, John Smith.
Yeah, now they do. So, I mean, this is a tough one to pick, but do I want to go Bullet Club? No, I'm going to go with the Good Brothers on this one.
Okay, John Deconnie.
Oh, man, I just wonder how and where FinJuice is going to figure this one. Whether they get involved or not. You know what? Give me the Bullet Club here. That way, you get a title change, but it doesn't necessarily leave the building because Bay, isn't going anywhere. He's a homegrown guy. So give me the Bullet Club here to take these titles.
No kidding. So John Deconnie has called 2 title changes at Turning Point so far. This is crazy. I should circle back through. This Thursday, we have Luke Gallows versus Hicaleo. Real quick, John Deconnie, Luke Gallows eating a pin? 2 losses in a row for you?
No, absolutely not. No, he already he counted the last once this year against Joe Doring, and I think that's his quota.
John Smith?
Give me Hicaleo because I got Good Brothers winning.
Oof. I'm calling no contest on this one. Seems cheap, but I don't think there's going to be a finish at all.
Completely possible.
Inspiration is defending the tag titles against this team, Havoc and Rosemary. Decay. John Smith, circle back around to you. Who do you got? Knockouts tag titles.
No, give me the inspiration.
John Deconnie.
Yeah, it's definitely too quick to take it off of the inspiration here. They will continue.
All right, this is definitive. They'll be up 2-0 against the Rosemary and Havoc, but I agree. Inspiration's going to get the job done. Okay, Knockouts Championship match. No graphic for this one. Mercedes Martinez is your challenger. She is the winner of the tournament that they had at Knockouts Knockdown. She'll be facing Mickie James, the reigning and defending Impact Knockouts champion. John Deconnie, is it Mercedes time? Does Mickie belong?
Yeah. Oh God. This one, it's tough because I'm going to go with Mickie James, but because why put it on her if you were just going to make her like Mickie James? I think is too important to the history of TNA and Impact just to use her as a transitional champion. So therefore, Mercedes, she had her moment in winning the Knockouts Knockdown tournament, but she's not going to get the job done here. Give me Mickie retaining.
So just to be clear, you're not going to pick a third title change?
Exactly. I was swaying, and then I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. We can't have that again.
John Smith.
This is the only title I can see changing at this pay-per-view, at this show. So I'm going with Mercedes on this one. I think maybe Deanna gets involved while the referee's down, though. So but and Mercedes will be down too, so she doesn't know she's taking advantage of something. Everybody will be protected by it. But I think Mickie James, like they did want to do the transitional thing. So
yeah. I'm feeling a little bullish on Mercedes Martinez too. So I'm gonna pick Mercedes Martinez and then remind John Smith and myself that John Deconnie is much better at picking Impact matches than us. But even a broken clock's right twice a day or something like that. All right, Impact World Championship match. Moose, your new-ish champion, won the title from Josh Alexander at Bound for Glory. Juice Robinson image credit apparently goes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, whatever that means in this graphic. So, John Deconnie, is this going to be your third title change of the night?
Hell no. I think Moose enjoys beating the living hell out of Eddie Edwards, and it will continue here. Moose retains.
I think John Smith, we said last week that Eddie Edwards is a good first title defense typically. So, do you think Eddie Edwards is going to be just that?
Yeah, domination by Moose. Eddie will get his shots in because he's Mr. Impact, but total domination by Moose when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, Chelsea Green, she did win a 4-way match earlier today to set up a championship match against Jordan Grace for the Digital Media Championship. No date yet, but it is presumably going to be this weekend at Turning Point, maybe on the pre-show or something. So we'll go ahead and pick the match just in case that gets announced. John Smith, you got the hot mess or you got Thick Mama Pump?
I'll take the hot mess.
Okay.
Yeah.
John Deconnie. Wait for the title. You picking a title change or are you picking a
No, title change. Yeah, I originally had her winning that title to begin with, so I guess I want to stick with that. I don't know.
Okay. John Deconnie, is this a title change for you?
Yeah, now I'm feeling a little more insane for picking two title changes earlier on the card because, it's just too delicious to have eventually Chelsea go up against Matt Cardona for the Digital Media Championship versus the unspoken Internet champion. So, and like John Smith, I picked Chelsea to be the initial Digital Media champion. So yeah, I think Chelsea gets the job done here.
Wow. I'm going to give it to Jordan. I feel like, she's like a national bodybuilding champion right now. Why slow her down? Give her keep her with that title. So that is Turning Point. That is Impact. It's time. Oh, it's time. It's Vader, Survivor Series time.
Time.
All right. Well, before we get into Survivor Series this year, let's take a look at how we did last year. John Deconnie went 5-2 with 135 points. I also went 5-2, but I only got 125 points. John Smith, 105. Karl, 105. Gary, Mehaffy, 95. Tyler, 94. Travis did not participate in Survivor Series. So the fact of the matter is we are sitting at, I have 850 points in the lead right now. We'll come back to this later. But the point of the matter is there's a lot of points on the line at Survivor Series. If you can get, 20 or more, you can get like more than 10% of the points that are for the whole season in this one show so far. So here are our WWE standings. Maggie is beating us all by a lot of points. Followed by me, and then John Smith, John Deconnie, Karl, Gary. Travis hasn't broken 200 yet, and Tyler has barely broken 150. So there you go. Scoring at Survivor Series, 25 points for the WWE versus Universal Championship match, 15 points for all other champion matches. They're not championship matches, but they're champion matches. 5 points for the non-title matches, which there are none at this point, although they are all non-title matches, but that's not what he means. Kickoff matches will count. 20 points for elimination matches. Confidence points are going to be awarded. So if you assign a confidence level to the person who you think is most likely to survive on your winning team and go from there. So that's how the points really add up at Survivor Series, because, man, you can get a lot of points for those elimination matches. So that said, how you guys feeling? You ready to pick some Survivor Series matches?
Yeah, this one's going to be tough this year.
Yeah, the big four is usually where I make up a lot of ground. I don't know about this year. I'm not real confident on a lot of these.
Well, we're going to start with the U.S. title versus the Intercontinental title. Let's see how these titles have kind of stacked up against each other in the past at Survivor Series. Not typically, but the U.S. Championship has done the best. They're 500. The North American Championship, the 1 year it was involved, it won. It was Roddy Strong. And then 1-3 for the Intercontinental Championship. So Intercontinental Championship not doing particularly well. Now, Raw also batting 500. NXT 1-0. SmackDown 1-3. So basically things kind of line up the same way as the titles here. This year representing Raw, we have Damian Priest with the United States Championship going up against Shinsuke Nakamura, who is the Intercontinental Champion. And John Smith, I will go to you first to make our first Survivor Series pick. Who do you got?
Vince loves Damian Priest, so I'm going with Damian Priest. And he also loves Rick Boogs more than he likes Nakamura. So I don't think he has a problem with Nakamura losing this match. So yeah, give me the US champ, Damian Priest.
Now that would make the US title above 500, and it would bury the Intercontinental Championship, John Deconnie.
Yeah, and I have a special place in my heart for the Intercontinental Championship because that was always the workhorse title. And, you know, usually most of my favorite guys were fighting right around that level. But Damian Priest is the shinier new toy. I don't see him losing here.
Yep, me either. I'm going to pick Damian Priest, and so is Karl going to pick Damian Priest. So I guess all of us are we're not making up any ground on each other in this particular match. So there we go. We move on to the tag team titles. Now here's how they have done. Raw is 2 for 2. SmackDown's 2 for 2. NXT 0-1. So both titles are sitting at 500. Now going into this, we have RK Bro representing Raw, the Usos representing SmackDown. Man, John Deconnie, I'll start with you. RK Bro has tag titles on the graphics in WWE.com. Is there any subliminal messaging there? Are they like the favorites over the Usos? Don't hold titles.
Yeah, they're the favorites in my book because I think the Usos, it doesn't matter. I think the Usos night is going to be all about making sure that the tribal chief looks good. And as much as they will, of course, get in trouble for it and have to pay some kind of physical or mental punishment the next week on SmackDown, I think it's all about making sure that Roman comes out on top. So is in terms of the tag match, I'm going to go with RK Bro.
John Smith.
Yeah, RK Bro's 2 over. I think they definitely win this match.
All right, let me play devil's advocate, and I'm not sure who I'm quite picking at the moment. Al picked a RK Bro, I believe. I did not create a graphic. Yeah, he picked RK Bro. Do you think the whole storyline is about Orton and Riddle eventually splitting? They kind of hate each other. Do you think there's a scenario where in a no stakes here, right? The titles can't change hands, that maybe we have a little bit of issues between Orton and Riddle that lead to a loss to further that story when the titles aren't even on the line?
Yeah, I could see maybe somewhere earlier in the card, Riddle sticks his nose into somebody else's business again, the very thing that Randy has been screaming at him the last couple of weeks to stay out of, and he winds up going into their match injured. So I could definitely see it playing out that way. So that's an interesting scenario.
Yeah, I don't think so though, because looking at this card, like, what's the first match going to be? You got to go big, like face versus heel, so you get a pop from the crowd, and it's got to be this. So, you're not going to get any sort of allegiance to SmackDown or Raw for anyone, but everybody loves RK Bro and everybody boos the Usos. So I think this is your show opener, and then RK Bro definitely wins it to start the night off right.
It's a good point. You only really have 2 matches on the whole card that are face versus heel. This one, and then the main
champions.
Event. Yeah. The other ones are all kind of mixed, or they're heel versus heel. So, or face. I guess Priest and Nakamura is face versus face. So,
right.
I'll go with RK Bro. I think you guys have talked me into it. I was kind of leaning towards the Usos, but you talked me into it. So
that's all right. Go Usos. It's fine. Go ahead.
Well, they'll probably win if I select them. They'll not win if I do. All right. We're going to do the men's Survivor Series team first. And so let's see. Survivor Series elimination match records. This is both men and women and tag team elimination, anything that they've done. Raw is got a 9-5 record, well ahead of the SmackDown teams. NXT is 500. They only participated 1 year. They won the women's, lost the men's. So 9-5 for Raw. Now in men's competition, both teams sitting 500. So these statistics don't help at all, except to say that Randy Orton has been on the winning team twice. But if you look through the things, you'll see probably other people too. Last year, Raw's team completely survived. 100% survival rate for Raw. So if you picked Raw, you got all your confidence points. So this year, guys, here are the teams. And we don't even have full teams yet. We have Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory representing Raw. A clear weak link there, but otherwise a very strong team. Going up against SmackDown's team, which has Drew McIntyre, Happy Corbin, Jeff Hardy, King Woods, and a question mark. So Al has picked Raw and has assigned his confidence points as Rollins, Lashley, Owens, Balor, Theory, meaning that he is most confident that Seth Rollins will stay in the match, and he is least confident that Theory will survive the match. So, having said that, John Deconnie, explain to us who you think is going to win and what your confidence level is for the participant.
Okay, I've got Team SmackDown winning here. Just because, I mean, Raw definitely seems like the stronger team, if you will. No offense to Team SmackDown, but I just think that Team SmackDown, as we have seen and will continue to see in Al's statistics, has just been getting lumped up in these matches, and I think this is where they make up a little ground this year. So I got McIntyre being my my top point getter. He's the one I'm most confident in sticking around. Then probably King Woods, just because he's on a heck of a roll here. Then Corbin, and just because I feel bad every time I say this, but I really have no use for Jeff Hardy anymore as a singles competitor. So give me our question mark as getting 4 points in confidence, and Jeff Hardy with 2. And like I said, Team SmackDown taking this one.
If somebody is the sole survivor for their team, shouldn't they get a title shot? So, like, if Drew ends up as the sole survivor, shouldn't he get a title shot?
Absolutely.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Maybe John Smith.
I agree that SmackDown's going to win. The Raw team is just too combustible between Rollins and Owens and Balor and Lashley. Forget about Theory, but the other 4, like, that's a pissing contest waiting to happen. So, like, Seth Rollins walked out on SmackDown last year. I could see something like that happening, but, like, Owens doing that this year, but in a different way, obviously. I got Drew as my 10 point. Then I'm going question marks for 8 points because I think it's going to be Von Wagner, and I think they're going to make him look good. Then I'll go with Woods, Corbin, Hardy.
Okay. So it's interesting because not knowing who that question mark is does open things up. It could be Walter. We talked about that with Gary earlier today. Could be Von Wagner. He was oddly on SmackDown last week. Could be Braun Breaker, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. Could be anybody.
CM Punk?
Not likely, but maybe. Maybe.
That used to be what question marks always was.
That's right.
CM Punk. Eva Marie.
Wait for CM Punk to take the joy out of wrestling. I'm going to go against the grain. I am picking Team Raw, and I'm assigning confidence points as follows. Seth Rollins gets the 10 spot because he is going to be the next. He's already earned a title shot against Big E, so I don't think he loses at all between now and then. And then I'll give it to Kevin Owens because I think he's also getting a title shot against Big E. And then Lashley because he's unstoppable. Then Finn Balor. Then Austin Theory. So I am aligned with Al, but in a different order. So we have 2 votes for Raw, 2 votes for SmackDown. So we are split on the men's Survivor Series team. Let's see how we do on the women's. The women's has been lopsided, very much so. We are 5-1 for Raw. Lana was the sole survivor last year. I got 10 points for that one. NXT was 1-0. In their 1 year that they were participated, they won. And SmackDown has never, ever won a women's Survivor Series match. Here's the teams this year. Representing Raw, we have Zelina Vega, Rhea Ripley, number 1 contender Liv Morgan. No date yet for that match, by the way. Carmella and Bianca Belair. On the other side, we have a question mark, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi Blackheart, Sasha Banks, and Natalya. This Friday on SmackDown, we have Sasha Banks versus Shotzi. So with the way Sonya and Adam have been going, one of these two could get kicked off the team. So who knows? So this might all be futile what we're picking here. Karl has picked SmackDown to break the streak. He says they are going to win this year. And they, maybe they will. But he has assigned his confidence points as follows. Sasha Banks at number 1, Shotzi Blackheart following Shayna, Natalya, and then he has TBD. He did put a disclaimer that if, depending on who that TBD is, he may change his mind. So, John Smith, I'll start with you on this one. What do you think?
This one's really tough. I'm going with Raw, though. I like Bianca Belair to win because everybody thought she got all crapped on with that 26-second loss to Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. So this is kind of be like her payback kind of. I'm thinking maybe Soul Survivor, but if not, it'll go Belair, then this one's tough actually. I'll go with Rhea, then Liv, then Zelina, then Carmella.
Okay. It is tough because, Zelina and Rhea Ripley, they're at odds. Zelina and Carmella are at odds with Ripley. Liv is sort of at odds with Bianca, but I think they could get over it. But and Liv's got that title match coming up against Becky Lynch. She really shouldn't have her shoulders pinned because she needs the build. John Deconnie, before I move off, John Smith, who do you think, Sasha or Shotzi for Friday?
Oh, I got Shotzi with the Raw roll-up.
On SmackDown. Okay, John Deconnie, back to the women's match. What do you think here?
Okay, I think that the female team SmackDown finally gets off the schneid here. They kind of got to get a win here. It's one thing for them to be 0-3, 0-4. They're 0-6 now. Like that's it just sticks out too much. And there's all kinds of things, like you said. Rhea is at odds with Carmella and Zelina, especially after they completely put down Nikki, said she's going to be at home with the losers while the rest of us are out there fighting for the team. You've got Doudrop hanging around, who kind of is, she's not necessarily a full-on heel, but she's definitely at odds with Bianca, so she could get involved here somehow, even if she just, costs her account out by coming to ringside and brawling with her. So I'm going to go with Team SmackDown. I've got Sasha in the 10-point spot, and then decreasing, I got Shotzi, Shayna, Natty, and whoever our big question mark is that Tyler's probably going with as 10 points.
This is really tough because part of me I want to pick Team SmackDown just because of the lopsided record and the fact that I picked the Raw men's team to win. But I just don't feel it. I don't think that team looks that strong. Shayna Baszler is super susceptible to the Raw roll-up. Shotzi and Sasha Banks is probably going to get kicked off the team because of whatever Sonya Deville decides to do on SmackDown. So I like Team Raw in this, and I'm putting Liv Morgan in the 10 spot. I don't think she's going to. I think she's going to survive because it's going to make her look good as she goes up against Becky Lynch, and I think she needs that. Followed by Rhea Ripley, followed by Bianca Belair, followed by Zelina Vega, followed by Carmella. So similar picks to John Smith, but the confidence points are totally assigned differently. So interesting the way we have lined up. So again, 2-2. John Smith and I have picked Team Raw. Al and John Deconnie have picked Team SmackDown. And of course, we're all saying that we're going to change our pick based on how Friday night goes. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think who's the question mark's going to be? Toni Storm?
Yeah, James Wheeler says he thought maybe Toni Storm or Naomi should fill the spot. I'll throw in it could be Sonya Deville herself. But she kind of is on both brands, so that'd be kind of weird. You also have Xia Li, who is on the roster and hasn't really appeared yet. So
we've gotten her coming soon little vignette.
That'll be fun. Xia Li just kills everyone.
Yeah. Doesn't have a wide arsenal of moves though. It's kind of she's used to having short matches. That's kind of.
Oh yeah, we don't know how wide her arsenal is because her strikes are so devastating.
Fair enough. Yes. All right. Women's Championship. So here's how they have. Now these championships, by the way, are assigned to brand. They have the Raw Women's Champion and the SmackDown Women's Champion. So the championship title goes with the show. So here's the records: Raw Championships 0-3, never won. The SmackDown Championship is 2-1, and the NXT Championship 1-0. Shayna Baszler got it done. Last time she won on a WWE pay-per-view, probably. Now she won at Elimination Chamber, too. This year, our combatants are Charlotte Flair representing SmackDown, Becky Lynch representing Raw. I hope she brings the Mohawk. 0-3, that Raw Championship. John Smith, who do you think is going to walk away with this?
This one's tough because Charlotte is such a whiny baby, but I'm going to go with Becky on this one. She's the better wrestler. She's more over, I can see them giving it to Charlotte though. Like, yeah, well, you know what? When they face each other one-on-one, Charlotte still wins, But
yeah. John Deconnie, do you think that this could be a punishment for bad behavior and Charlotte Flair takes an L here?
Yeah, I think that may weigh in more than we might want to admit, because you just put these two characters against each other and it's a dead coin flip in terms of how over Becky is, even though she's kind of trying to become a heel. Charlotte is about as entrenched in heeldom as you can get, but they both get such a great reaction out of the crowd that I could really see this being a no contest. But I'm going to go with Becky here just because maybe Toni Storm doesn't like the fact that she was completely written off by Charlotte last week, and she sticks her nose in here and maybe cost Charlotte. So give me Becky. Not real confident in there being even a finish to this match, but or a winner, I should say. But give me Becky in the fact in case it does turn out to have an actual finish.
Yeah. Karl picks Becky Lynch as well, and so do I. I think we've kind of hit on it. I don't think Charlotte can walk away with a win here because I think she did some damage to her reputation with whatever antics happened a few weeks ago after SmackDown with the whole belt exchange.
And we say that stuff, and then like the Usos go and win the tag titles right after they get a DUI.
Yeah, 100% right.
The decisions that are made, it doesn't really. It's never really consistent. So
yeah.
And like when it was Asuka versus Charlotte a few years ago at WrestleMania, literally 0 people in the PWP picked Charlotte to win that match, and they still had Charlotte win that. So it's like, she's the golden child. So
we should all flip our picks to Charlotte now.
No, it's just that's why I wouldn't be surprised if she won.
Now, what we should do is we should all find out who Maggie is picking.
Yeah.
She has no clue yet. She probably doesn't even know who's wrestling yet. Maybe she does. If she heard that, I'd probably get yelled at. All right. So main event time. Before we get to the main event, a little update on our Sheamus and Ridge Holland situation. Ridge says he'll be a better partner for Sheamus. Cesaro disagrees. So we don't know how that's going to go. Maybe one of those 3 individuals will fill the spot on the SmackDown team. But here is the champion versus champion, world champion. This is the overall champion versus champion matches. Raw has 6-8, SmackDown 6-8, NXT 2-1. So it's kind of a wash. They both got the same record. On the world championship side, the WWE Championship is 0-3. The Universal Champion 3-0.
Wow.
And it has been Roman Reigns once in 2020. That's last year. Brock Lesnar the 2 times before that. So the WWE Championship clearly not the priority for the company. That's what I read into for that. Roman Reigns seems to be completely unstoppable. However, he got beat last week. Now, it wasn't a pin. It wasn't a submission. But he lost by disqualification last week, right, John Deconnie?
He sure did. Yeah, but and I think that's the only way he loses here, although I would never, put money on that because I really I think that's the one thing that drives me nuts about the PWP is when somebody loses by a DQ. Well, this guy won. There was no way in hell this guy was going to pin the other guy to the mat, but he won by a DQ. I know that's the only way you can do it. You can't have caveats for every ridiculous scenario, but that drives me nuts. That being said, yes, that is the only way I could see Big E winning here, but I don't see it happening. Like I said, I think maybe the cousins get involved, whatever the case may be. Roman's got to come out looking strong here, so give me the Universal Champion winning this one.
All right. So John Deconnie says the Universal Championship will go to 4-0. Here's how things have lined up when it's been based on the show. So the NXT Championship not been involved, but the Raw when when the Universal how do I say this? So Raw has brought their world champion in and they're 2-1. SmackDown's world champion is 1-2. Roman Reigns is the only SmackDown world champion to actually win at Survivor Series. Brock Lesnar has been the Raw champion in the past, and he has gotten the win. So it seems like the dominant champion, the Universal Champion, is usually always on the show. That's also considered the dominant show. So, John Smith, what do you say? Roman, Big E?
It would make so much sense for Roman to lose this match. If he hasn't been beaten in so long, you're not taking the title off of him. You can, I'm sure, do it where he's protected. Maybe a little Brock Lesnar situation. Who knows? But I don't think they're going to do it. If it was maybe somebody else besides Big E, maybe they would have Roman lose. But I don't think they have Roman lose to Big E.
I've had so many. I go back and forth on this myself. Al picked Roman, by the way. I have to pick Roman Reigns too. Although I think it would be smart for Big E to get the win here, because Big E, listen, he's the champion now. He is basically the star, positioned as the star on Monday Night Raw. I just feel like he needs more credentials. I feel like he needs more on his resume. And a win over Roman would be something, but I don't think they give it to him. I can't bet against Roman on this, so I have to pick Roman Reigns as well. Here is the Survivor Series overall match records. Raw is 19-17, SmackDown 13-23, NXT 4-3. But here is the real thing. Raw has 4 show wins. SmackDown has never won. So when it comes down to who wins most matches at Survivor Series, it looks like it's always Raw. We have all agreed Damian Priest is going to win. We all agreed Becky Lynch is going to win. So if that logic applies, they've got 2 wins. Raw's got 2 wins. We went 50-50 between on the elimination matches. So you figure they're going to win one of them. So now they got 3 wins. So it looks like Raw is going to walk away with it. John Smith, do you think Raw is going to have another win on their column this time?
Yeah, because RK Bro is on Raw, Becky Lynch is on Raw, Priest is on Raw. Yeah,
John Deconnie, this Fox seems to be Fox seems to just get a little bit less attention from WWE, and in that way, sometimes I feel like they have to appeal to them more. Do you think the SmackDown has a chance at breaking the streak here and getting a W?
Oh, that's why I gave both of the elimination scenarios to SmackDown, because then you wind up with until they throw another match on this card, I have it as a 3-3 tie. I've got the tag titles going to Raw, the mid card titles going to Raw, and the women's title going to Raw. But then I've got the Tribal Chief and the 2 traditional elimination matches going to SmackDown.
Well, man, I think Raw will go away with it again. Al didn't pick an overall winner, but I think it's probably going to be Monday Night Raw that goes away with it. But you might be right, John. Maybe it'll slide in SmackDown's favor, or it'll be tied. All right, guys. Anything about Survivor Series? John Smith, there's a chance that you could be there. It's kind of 50-50 at the moment, but what are you looking forward to seeing live most?
It's a good question. I hadn't really thought of that. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to going to I went to Survivor Series in 2002, so it's been many years, and there weren't traditional Survivor Series matches. So maybe that's what I should look most forward to, is seeing a live traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches.
I was always bitter for those years that they didn't have the traditional matches. Because as you know, when I was younger, when I was 5-6 years old, and I just loved the 5-on-5 strive to survive concept. And when they took it away for no good reason, I was really frustrated. Now I don't necessarily love the way they do it today with the Raw versus SmackDown stuff, but whatever. John Deconnie, what are you looking forward to most this weekend?
I'm looking forward to filling in the question marks because I think there's some interesting scenarios that could pop up there. Like you mentioned with Gary, and you mentioned again in this segment, if Walter is the guy that they plug in on the SmackDown men's team, wow, that gets to be a lot of fun. And then I'm going to be kicking myself for only giving that 4 points to that spot. And on the women's side, Xia Li, Toni Storm, there's interesting things you can come out of that question mark.
Yeah. Do you think we see any long-term stories come out of here? Every year we set this up, and I think, the Survivor Series is going to have some sort of implication on WrestleMania or something like that. And I think it certainly would. If Big E got a win over Roman, they'd have to come back to it. But if it's just definitive wins by the champs, then there's nothing to come back to. You guys think there's anything more they're going to do based on the outcomes?
I think the women's title is the one where, something screwy will happen that lets it go one way or another. I've got it going to Becky Lynch, but I could just as easily see it going to Charlotte. But yeah, that just continues to build the long-term storyline amongst all the four horsewomen. So we'll be reminded. However that one goes down, we'll be reminded when it comes back around again, and it will come back around again.
Yeah. John Smith, anything?
I'm just maybe hoping Brock Lesnar makes an appearance. Maybe his music plays, and that somehow gets Big E the win. I know. You hear that music drop, Roman's all like, whoa, and then he gets Big Ending twice in a row for a pin. That'd be crazy.
Man, Woods has a win over Roman. If Big E gets a win over Roman, then you kind of have like a really big storyline for the New Day versus Roman and the Usos. Yeah, bloodline. So I don't know, and you throw Solo Sikoa in there too. Whatever you gotta do.
And the fact that the very, very early rumors for this one back in the summer before they rushed Brock back. Remember the original, once again, rumor, but the long term was that Brock was WrestleMania 2023 opponent for Roman. This year was supposed to be The Rock, and this will be right around the 25th anniversary of his debut of Rocky Maiavia's debut. So doing something, interesting with him, if they could get him to at least pop his head in for a few minutes, that'll certainly blow the roof off of the building.
The internet will explode as well. All right. Well, I think that does it for today's show. Let me get into some of the great things that are happening around the Eastern Observer. For instance, the Primetime Rundown. Join Joey Jarzenka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca on Friday nights for the Primetime Rundown. They take you through the world of sports, and the show kicks off at 7 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. They are losing to the Essential Wrestling Podcast in our football survival pick'em league thing that we're doing. They're down 7 games. So listen to us when it comes to that. However, when there's a tie, that's really tough. The Body Slam Brigade newsletter. You can subscribe to that. Brand new format. Returned last week. Close to 5,000 people are getting it each and every Friday. So subscribe at bodyslambrigade.com. Everybody likes free cake, so check out the newish album from the Black Cats. You can get it on Spotify, Pandora, Deezer, YouTube Music. Everywhere you get music, you can listen to the Black Cats. And ProWrestlingPick'em.com. We have a sponsor. All the picks for tonight's show and everything have been sponsored by Pro Wrestling Pick'em. You can go on to ProWrestlingPick'em.com to log your picks in for Survivor Series Play Against Us. You can create a host a pick'em league of your own, test your predictive skills in the world of wrestling. Create an account and join the league now at prowrestlingpick'em.com so you can play against your friends or play against the universe. And of course, this show, the Essential Wrestling Podcast, we're here every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Get all your updates and highlights in the world of wrestling and find out who we think will win the week's matches. Al will hopefully be back soon, although we know it won't be next week. No show next week, by the way, for Thanksgiving. We are going to take the week off. John Smith, typically on the Daily Wrestling News Show, I used to ask if you had any words of advice for this show?
Words of advice for this show? No, you got to give me a heads up if you're going to ask me for words of advice. Sometimes I didn't even have them when I was supposed to have them.
All right. Well, words of advice.
Get a
words
gun.
Of advice. I'll ask you.
Protect yourself. Get a gun.
John Deconnie. John Smith. Anything before we get out of here?
No, just looking forward to a nice weekend of wrestling.
Absolutely. John Deconnie, anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, like John said, just looking forward. These big fours are, even though Survivor Series has never really been, at the top of the list for me, anytime we come around to the big fours, it gives you the warm feeling in the cockles of your heart for old school WWF.
Well, I think before we get out of here, we got to look at this one more time. I'm on top by a solid 35 points. Might not be the case after this week because there's so many points on the line. So I'm just enjoying this for one last moment. John Deconnie, take us home.
Thanks for joining us. And as always, we wish you the best in all your future endeavors.